Welcome back, boxing fans. So I was just listening to Dante's Boxing Nation talk about Fabio Wardley's fight with Justice Hooney. And it's funny because the only reason he's even mentioning these guys is because there's no black American fighter in the heavyweight division that's even relevant. But of course, with Usyk, the dominant fighter in the division, being a Caucasian, Dante has to find some way to make this shit racial. Right? Obviously, you got very good fighters, black fighters right now, in front of him. Obviously, his next opponent's a black UK fighter in Daniel Dubois, a guy who's been on a huge roll. That is a great fight and a very competitive fight, a fight that easily could go the other way. I mean, Usyk is now 37 years of age. How much is he motivated at this point, especially to take on a guy he's already previously stopped? Right? Dubois is seeking revenge and obviously a claim of fame. If he beats Usyk and becomes undisputed, his career is signed, sealed, and delivered. But of course, Dante, because he doesn't feel confident that Dubois can beat Usyk, because obviously we saw how the first fight unfolded, he's trying to find the next best thing, the next black hope that potentially could beat Usyk. And I say that racial term because that's exactly what Dante's Boxing Nation would do. He's got the hope list and everything else from his channel, right? So he's pushing Wardley, right, who's not from the States, is from the UK. And of course, he's pushing Moses Utama. And anyone that's watching boxing, especially heavyweight boxing, knows that Moses is getting tons of hype right now. Already people are making videos talking about, is he a hype job? I mean, the fact that people are excited from this young brother who seems to have so much ability, that's exactly what you like in sports, right? Is he going to live up to those expectations? Or is he going to, be underwhelming? Is he going to surpass people's expectations, right? That's why we watch the sport, to see if this guy who's getting so much attention is going to live up to the attention he's getting. Obviously, it's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy, especially a guy like Utama who's only 20. He's pushing Wardley as a potential fighter that could knock out and take over the heavyweight division, right? So you could fulfill Turkey's quest of having a black heavyweight champion, because of course people love to run with that statement from Turkey Al-Sheikh, which is ironic because currently Dubois is an IBF world heavyweight champion. So currently there is a black heavyweight champion. So that shit makes no sense at all, but okay. You know, the funny thing is, Wardley's a very good fighter. He's obviously been dominating UK level opponents, Adley and Fraser Clark, right? Obviously both very good fighters. Wardley beat them. Obviously now he's going to face a top-notch Australian fighter, which is basically still a domestic UK fighter in a sense. None of the guys he's fought are world class, at least not at this point, right? Not Hooney, not Adelaide, and not Fraser Clark, but they're good fighters. Obviously a guy like him, this is the kind of opponent you should be fighting, guys at your level, right? And to see if you are above them. And so far he's been successful and is starting to get more and more buzz. That's why he was scheduled to fight Big Baby, right? Big Baby obviously has an American fan base, is well known in the US. It would have been a perfect sort of crossover opponent, but unfortunately he pulled out of the fight. Now you get in there with a completely different fighter in Justice Hooney, who's much more of a slick boxer, not a hard puncher, a guy with very good amateur pedigree, a guy who's going to use his feet, his jab, and his boxing ability to stay out of range against Wardley. Potentially could be a very tough fight, could be the wrong style completely for Wardley, whereas Big Baby would have been right in front of him and would have been there to hit, which potentially would have been a far easier opponent, right? The irony though with Dante, he's pushing this fight, but he don't even know Fraser Clark's name. He don't even know who Fraser Clark is. He keeps calling him Clark Fraser. And he did that multiple times. And you do it once and it's okay, people make slip ups. But to consistently refer to a guy with his name switched around, tells me you've never seen that guy fight. Not as a UK Olympian, not as a professional, right? I would be surprised if he's even watched much of Fabio Wardley, right? He's just looking for somebody that he can perpetuate this whole racial narrative that he loves to push on his channel. And it's so funny because in the UK, this is not that big of an issue, not compared to the US. Obviously, there's still race issues and racism in the UK like there is globally around the world. But people aren't nearly as fixated on it as they are in the US, as Dante is, who doesn't even live in the US, lives in Thailand, where there's also racism in Thailand as well, right? You know, you can't get away from it because people always look for something to criticize someone else to make themselves feel better. Even in the black community, you know, they use colorism to try to criticize and hate on other black Americans, right? And this is not just America, it goes on in Africa and I'm sure everywhere where there's people of color. In Asia, it's the same. You know, white Asians are more revered. Darker Asians are seen as more inferior, low class, right? And judged negatively. You know, this shit is global. But obviously some people are uneducated and ignorant, never left the country where they're from, and don't really have a true perspective of the world around them. As far as the Wardley-Hooney fight, great matchup. Really interesting. I mean, we know Wardley got serious power, but Hooney is a very slick boxer, a guy who is going to be throwing that jab and moving those feet. He's not going to be standing there allowing Wardley to land big shots and try to open up on him with his power. So that's what's going to be interesting about this fight. Can Wardley get into range to land his power shots? And for Justice Hooney, can he use his jab and his feet to stay out of range, control the distance, and win this fight by unanimous decision? The way the fight's going to unfold, most people would assume that Hooney's going to win a decision, Wardley's going to win a stoppage. So it's a very intriguing matchup between two of the most exciting young and up-and-coming fighters in the heavyweight division. But does Hooney, Wardley, or at this time Utama have a chance of beating Alexander Usyk? Come on, man. Like, the reality of the situation is none of these three fighters are ever going to get in the ring with Usyk. Usyk is going to fight Dubois next. After that, he's probably going to fight Parker. And then after that, he's probably going to retire. And if he can go undisputed and undefeated, that will be a career lifetime achievement for his heavyweight career. You know, the only other heavyweight to retire undefeated was, of course, Marciano. For Usyk to do that would be a true legacy move on his part. And you know Dante don't want that shit to happen. Don't want that shit to happen. Of course, he's going to make it somehow about Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather was 50-0 and undefeated when he retired. Floyd Mayweather also was never undisputed in any division that he's ever boxed in, meaning that he did not fight all the champions in a weight class where he was a champion, unlike Usyk, who's done it in cruiserweight and the heavyweight division, which is why currently he is on many people's pound-for-pound #1 list. I'm not even a Usyk fan, but you got to respect someone that's doing stuff that's super exciting and obviously super legacy. And that's what he's doing, right? I'm an AJ fan, but unfortunately at this point, you got to credit Usyk as the better fighter. And, you know, regardless of what I like and who I like, truth is truth. Usyk has proven everyone wrong time and time again. He is a true road warrior, fighting in everybody else's backyard, doing exactly what people never felt he could do, which is basically be a more accomplished version of Evander Holyfield, right? Duplicating what Holyfield did, but doing it on a far more smooth and obviously a far better level, because he's never been beaten, unlike Evander. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think of that Wardley-Hooney fight? And do you think Dubois has a chance of beating Usyk? Obviously, that's a fight that's really credible and a real legitimate fight. Would you think Fabio Wardley would beat Usyk? I don't see that happening. I don't think Fabio Wardley is legitimately a top 5 heavyweight in boxing, but we shall see. We shall see. Let me know in the comment section what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.